is like no place else.
Wait, you can't recycle the bag. You have to throw it away.
Proper recycling keeps it that way for everyone. Bags tangle in machinery and can bring sorting efforts to a halt.
No bags.
Trash the bags and keep our recycling program moving forward.
No, Mom, look, no plastic bags.
Do your part to keep our recycling bag-free. Trash the tanglers or return them to participating retailers. For more information, visit TampaBayRecycles.org.
These are the jobs you may not see every day, but just know we're working hard to make Hillsborough County a better place to live, work, and play. Subscribe to our YouTube page for more great county-related videos, only on HTV.
Psst, hey, would you do me a favor? Grab your phone or smart device and open up that camera. Then point it right here at the QR code. Do you have it? I'll wait a second. When you see the link pop up on your screen, give it a tap. You ready? Boom! Welcome to the Hillsborough County official YouTube channel. We've got all sorts of videos here, all about what makes our community such an awesome place. From local events and community highlights to what's in the perfect Cuban sandwich. We've got it all. We're always adding new things, so while you're here, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you'll never miss a new video. Here's that QR code again, just in case you missed it. Go ahead and check it out. Ooh. This must have fallen out of that video. This really is the perfect Cuban sandwich.
Oh man, here comes Arnie again. Check this out.
What's up, Arnie? What are you doing? You made a mess in my hallway.
Hey, Arnie. Looks like you could use a hand. Let me help you.
You don't need superpowers to be a hero. Help make Hillsborough bully-free.
Good morning and welcome to Hillsborough Transportation Planning Organization meeting on Wednesday, February the 14th. Let us stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Gail, could you give us a roll call for a quorum, please?
Commissioner Myers?
Here.
Mayor Ross?
Here.
Commissioner Owen?
Here.
Commissioner Wastel?
Here.
Commissioner Cohen?
Here.
Commissioner Kemp? Councilmember Clendenin? Here. Councilmember Hurtak? Here. Councilmember Maniscalco?
Here.
Mayor Kilton? Here. School Board Member Rendon? Charles Klug? Here. Gina Dew? Greg Slater? Here. Justin Willits? Here. Planning Commissioner Joseph? Here. We do have an in-person quorum.
Do we have the approval of the minutes?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposes? That motion is carried. Thank you. For public comments, we have 7 speakers, and each speaker will have 3 minutes. The first speaker is Rick Fernandez.
Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me all right?
Yes. Good morning.
All right. Good morning. Good morning to the board. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone. Again, Rick Fernandez, 2906 North Elmore. I'm in Tampa Heights. As I think most of you know, I'm the Civic Association President and the CAC Chair for the TPO. Although today, in this moment, I'm here to speak in my individual capacity. I'm here to speak on the issue of the Robles Park Eastern Boundary Barrier abutting I-275. This was discussed here last month at your board meeting and memorialized in your minutes just approved. I'm here to request a meeting with the DOT and the project contractor, who I believe is still Lane for this portion of the project, regarding the form this barrier will ultimately take. We need a barrier. That's not the question. We're getting a barrier. That's not a question. But we want input as to what that barrier will actually be. This approach is necessitated because DOT seems to be unwilling to speak with us, or at least me, absent the TPO blessing. I don't understand that. Maybe I'm overstating it, but it is the impression that I have, and I haven't been able to sit down with anybody from DOT on this issue. DOT is of the position that we are getting a wall. It's going to be a 14-foot wall. It's a quote-unquote done deal. My position as a resident of Tampa Heights and someone who lives about 2 blocks south of this park is that options need to be discussed. Is there going to be a wall? If so, what will it look like? What kind of facade will it have? How tall will it be? Et cetera, et cetera. If no wall, will we have a fully vegetative construction with heavy trees and landscaping, or some combo of the two? None of those types of details have been discussed regarding this particular barrier, at least not with me. Again, I'm here in my individual capacity. Unlike the structure that exists directly across my home, where people from DOT actually spent a good bit of time negotiating with me as to what the facade would appear to be and what the landscaping would be. I would think at least that much discussion would take place for the park. I did get a call from FDOT's Greg Dees yesterday. He seemed willing to schedule a meeting. Maybe there's been some movement on this, I don't know. But in any event, it looks like I need the permission of the TPO to talk to my DOT. So that's why I'm here. Apparently DOT needs that permission from you. So I thank you much, and I look forward to hearing the rest of the public comment.
Thank you. Next speaker, Chris Velez. Chris? Is Chris on the phone?
Can you hear me?
Okay. Can you speak a little louder, Chris?
Yes, can you guys hear me?
We can barely hear you.
All right, is that any better?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, this is Chris Bella. I currently serve on a CAC for the TPO, but this is my views. So I'm from 33605 in Ybor City. I lived 350 feet away from Malfunction Junction for 15 years. My house was built 40 years before it, and my neighborhood 70 years. I know about the interstate sounds. I know about the effects of nitrous oxide when I'm coughing, the dirt, dust, rubber particulates, while I constantly clean the outside of my house or repaint it every 2 to 3 years. In the summer, it all gets worse with the heat. All the effects are just magnified. So why does my neighborhood have this problem? Well, that answer was supposed to be part of your addenda and your agenda document. Maybe my letter made it in, I don't know. But what I do know is a TPO today will talk about road widening, more interstate expressway projects, kissing the rear of DeSantis to get a train in Tampa, or finding 196 fatalities versus 197 fatalities this year to be an ideal performance benchmark. Maybe throwing some loot for Union Station in my neighborhood will be a topic, but that does nothing to offset the environmental impacts in my neighborhood. This may sound bitter, but of course it does. Remember, I've lived here for 15 years. So the reason why I have this problem is because of redlining that occurred in my neighborhood many years ago by the Homeowners Corporation. Many of the neighborhoods are rated D, the lowest. These are for communities that were discriminated against: Jewish people, people who look like me, immigrants, blacks. Anybody who built Ybor and West Tampa were discriminated. Because of these maps rated the neighborhoods poorly, we ended up getting neighborhoods or interstates built through them. Now, the study that I provided in my letter shows that when you overlay the DOT noise maps over the red line districts, you see a correlation that the lower rated neighborhoods, the D neighborhoods, the lowest ones, experience a higher noise impact than other better quality rated neighborhoods. So till this day, we still experience these awful noise impacts, and also a lot of the particulates that come from the roadways that go over the sound walls and deeper into the neighborhoods. The author of the study noted that this is a clear case of structural racism. Now, the DOT noise map that I provided in my letter shows an area of our area in Tampa, and it shows that even up to 2020, we are still experiencing a lot of noise impacts, even despite when FDOT put up the sound walls in 2006. So it's clear that FDOT does not know how to address this problem, and it's only magnifying the impacts into the neighborhoods. So I'm asking this board that we need to slow down and have community workshops. We need to have discussions about how to make noise barriers better than what they are. Maybe throw in a lot of more trees and vegetation, allow the community to put some feedback into this. This is not just Tampa Heights, this is Ybor City and VM Ybor. We just need to look at better solutions to offset these negative discriminatory impacts from many, many years ago. Remember, the TPO took an adoption of a non-discrimination plan and racial equity resolution.
Chris, your time is up. Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Paula McCaskey.
Excuse me, Chair. I wanted to let you know that School Board Member Rendon is online.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the name, Gail.
School Board Member Rendon is online. Board member.
Okay, thank you. Is Paula here?
Yes, I'm here. I'm online.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Paula Meckley, and I am the current president of the Tampa Garden Club. And we wanted to chime in on this Robles Park boundary issue and the fact that our mission in Tampa is green space and beautification. And this is a park. Robles Park, it's a neighborhood, but it's also a park. And we understand the need for improvement and transportation. We get that. But let's really slow down and look at this and do it the right way. If we have the opportunity to make this better for the neighborhood and for the environment, we should really look at that in our growing city. We need to keep the quality of life, and we need to support the environment. The things that help with doing natural barriers instead of these big walls is these trees absorb the carbon monoxide that these cars put out. And the previous speaker talks about all of the dust and dirt that do fly over these walls. The trees have leaves and canopies that really help support and become natural filters for dust and those kinds of things. Plus, this is a park, so adding trees is a very natural step in that process. They filter the water system. They add to animal habitat. Again, we're in a park. If you want to walk through a park and enjoy a park, trees provide places for the wildlife to live, to make the park even a more enjoyable place. So what the Tampa Garden Club wanted to chime in and basically support putting trees and plants, no matter what the decision is about the wall, the trees and plants are a really good alternative to that. And we are willing to help and do whatever we can to stand behind improving the environment, helping with the air quality, and trying to knock down the dust and dirt in these neighborhoods. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. The next speaker, Lena Young Green. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this morning. I am here to ask that you support us as neighborhoods, as residents who live in this neighborhood. For us particularly who live directly around the park. We have always advocated for a wall that is a natural wall. There are things that have happened more recently. We've been before you repeatedly about transportation issues and about the interstate. There are some of these issues that we have been able to work with you and we've worked through. Some of them we haven't. And as people who live in this neighborhood that's so impacted by the interstate on all sides of Tampa Heights is impacted by the neighborhood. So there are times when we were successful, times when you just voted it in a different position. Today, I am asking you about a park that I live in front of. I've lived there for 43 years, raised our children there. A park that covers three blocks on the east side of the park next to the interstate. You've voted to put up walls. Some community members want walls, but there's a new issue. There's an issue that had more attention now than it did even in the past conversation, even in the past recent conversation. And that's this thing about a heat island. So the other speakers talked about the impacted environment. Having thousands of vehicles pass through my neighborhood, there are impacts for that. Now there is this thing about this heat island that we know concentrates all the particulate matter with the sun. It simmers during the day when the air gets cooler, then it goes into the air. This is the place where I live. My own husband passed from being affected by the 5 diseases that affect people that look like me most. I have a son who's an asthmatic. Trees are better than walls. Trees are better than walls. We know better now, we should do better. The heat island is a real thing. All around that downtown exchange where the I-4 starts, where 275 continues, where 275 curves around, right in my neighborhood, the walls are creating heat islands. And I beg you, please make a decision that's going to improve my health, my family's health.
Thank you so much, Lena. The next speaker is Kitty Wallace. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. I'm speaking with 2 hats on. One, I am the Tampa Heights Community Garden Coordinator for the last 13 years. And as much as I live in Wellswood, I also live in Tampa Heights because I'm in the garden all the time. So I'm driving those roads, and I also have a personal experience with the Robles Park because it was the first park that I fell in love with when I moved to Tampa in 1970. And my husband and I played tennis there, and we had picnics there. So it's a lovely park. And that section could easily be considered a place where trees would be a perfect way to block and mitigate all the effects of the interstate coming over into the park. That 3-block section does not have residences in. It is just a park. So I'm here to advocate as a quasi-member of Tampa Heights and a lover of that park that you could consider a green wall. And then my second hat as a past president of the Tampa Garden Club is to say, you know, there's folks out there that believe in trees and are willing to help. So I'll advocate to look at this one more time. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Alec Wickert. Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Hi. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Board. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak this morning. My name is Alex Whitaker. I'm a student at USF, and I have conducted studies with the Tampa Tree Canopy Study and the Tampa Stormwater Pond Study. So I've learned a lot about the effects that heat islands and concrete has on our environment. That exchange that we've been talking about, the malfunction junction, is an area of concentrated heat that will only get worse if we add more concrete. There's a perception that trees and plants are unable to reduce noise, and that is a myth. There are plenty of academic studies that have proven that with a little time, care, and consideration, that a combination of plants and trees can reduce sound by 6 to 15 decibels, can reduce heat 6 degrees more than impervious surfaces like concrete, and like we've been talking about, increases air quality, increases soil health, and reduces noise. There are so many studies that indicate that trees are able to be placed near highways because they absorb high frequency noise. And not to mention the benefit that they have being in a park, providing that space for residents, for the environment. It's just a green space that everyone deserves. Through the studies that I've been grateful to be a part of through USF, I've seen the disproportionate impact that types of projects that impact green space have on marginalized communities and have had for generations. We know that that exchange has had significant impacts on that community. And like many other speakers have spoken to today, the legacies of redlining now show up as environmental racism today. All it takes, in my opinion, is a little bit of time, care, consideration, and collaboration to reach a green barrier option that will work for everyone. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Dominique Cobb. Good morning.
Greetings, Chair and Board. My name is Dominique Cobb, and happy Black History Month. Today, I want to talk about the importance of trees. As a recent natural resource committee, I have noticed that in African American communities, we have been marginalized continuously, not only in public policy, but also in decision making. Also, as an intergenerational child of Robles Park and also the neighborhood, I grew up in that neighborhood, the same park that the barrier is going to go around. We actually played kickball there up into the 2000s. Because that neighborhood has been marginalized, that area has not been able to be entertainable since then. Today, I'm asking that you take in consideration of the community. As an advocate of not only East Tampa, but as a business owner, it makes it very hard to have leisure in my community. And we know that the African American community, which Zion Cemetery is very close to that place, we know that another community resides there as well, the Tampa Housing Authority, where those people are also being gentrified, that neighborhood is being gentrified, but also we hope that they'll return to that area. And when they return, we want a place of leisure. So please take in consideration that trees give back to us. We know that if we cut down on the trees, I'm going back to kindergarten, what's going to happen? There's not going to be any good oxygen. I'm a mother of quite a few, even those in my neighborhood, and it's unfortunate that our children can't identify our natural trees. So please take in consideration the tree canopy that we all love about the city of Tampa. Please add to it. And I also, as a student of public policy, take in consideration what is fair and what is doable. We know what is fair. That hasn't always happened. But what you can do today is what's doable. What's doable is having task force that actually intertwine with the neighborhood, not just people who make policy, but also the ones who live there, the ones who are not able to make these 10 a.m. meetings, or the ones who can't make the 6 p.m. So I ask that you please take that in consideration, and I'm also available for any assistance. You all have a beautiful day.
Thank you. And our last speaker, school board member. Oh, she's on the board. Okay, because I never did hear the last name. Okay, this ends our public comments. And so now we'll go to committee reports and advance. Come to the mic, please.
Good
Can you
morning.
state your name?
Linda,
Good morning.
Good morning. Linda Saul Senna. And I am here today not as a past chair of the MPO and not as a 20-year veteran of Tampa City Council, but as a co-chair of something called the Preservation Roundtable. And this is my co-chair, Julia Gorska-Freeman. We are an advocacy organization for preserving quality in our community, not just wonderful buildings, schools, homes, stores, but we're committed to preserving the quality of neighborhoods, tree canopy, and the qualities that make life worth living here. We have a great neighborhood. We have a great park. You all have the ability to be good stewards and advocates for preserving the quality of this by putting in a vegetative barrier rather than pure cement. It is, we all recognize, the way to go environmentally, socially, and you have the ability to do this. So I'm happy to be here today before you, and I thank you in advance for protecting this neighborhood.
Thank
you. I'm Julia Gorska-Freeman, co-chair of the Preservation Roundtable and a resident of Riverside Heights. I also want to say that supporting the trees is in alignment with the City of Tampa's vision and very precise goal of planting 30,000 trees citywide by the year 2030. It just seems like a no-brainer to me to move forward looking at the trees. Thank you.
Thank you all. Okay, this ends our public comments. We're going to move right into committee reports and advance. Yes.
Can I just ask a question?
Sure.
I see in last month's minutes that you asked that this Robles Park issue be placed on the agenda today. And I was wondering, it's not, so I'm wondering, are we just going to talk about it at some point during the meeting?
At the end of the last meeting, Secretary Gwynn answered the question. I think Commissioner Kemp asked a question, and Secretary Gwynn did answer the question because this committee, this body had already taken a vote on the Robles Park, and so we weren't going to relive the issue all over again, and he expressed his comments during that time.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Would it be appropriate, though, for us to give our blessing to FDOT meeting with the neighborhood? Is that something that we can do, or do you want to save that to the end of the meeting?
Yes, we can save it to the end and bring it up in a new business. Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I think while everybody's still listening, can we, because I just want to restate, I believe, what Secretary Gwynn had said to us so that everybody could hear it, that he was going to heavily landscape. There was going to build a wall for the noise, but they're going to heavily landscape that wall. So there's still going to be, there's going to be a green barrier adjacent to a wall. So they'll have really the best, from what I understand from listening to the Secretary last week, it's kind of the best of both worlds. You'd have that noise barrier, concrete barrier, and then a heavily landscape. And I believe that's what Secretary Gwynn said at the last meeting. So you know, they've already committed to having that green barrier. So when you're in the park, you'll have that. And then on the interstate side, you'll have the concrete barrier.
Okay, I'm going to move right on. Rick Fernandez, thank you all, board members, for your comments. Rick Fernandez, followed by Harmony McGee. Rick Fernandez.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, Chair. Again, can you hear me?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. Rick Fernandez, I am the chair of your Citizens Advisory Committee, and I'm here to provide my chair's report for the meeting of February 7, 2024. Your CAC met as is the normal with a convening time of 6 p.m. We adjourned shortly after 8. We easily met our quorum requirement with 14 members in the room and a few others appearing virtually. The CAC meeting was attended by 7 members of the public. That's a bit unusual for us, 6 of whom spoke during public comment, and you've heard from many of them already this morning, so that'll abbreviate my commentary. I'm sure you'll be happy to know. In addition, there were 7 emails received prior to the meeting, and their names and concerns were added to the record as well. All of the comments that we received, whether they be live, verbal, or over the internet, regarded the Robles Park barrier wall listed on the CAC agenda under unfinished business. In summary, the public's concern is that the addition of a concrete wall along Robles Park will aggravate the existing heat island impacts secondary to the I-275 infrastructure along the park's eastern boundary. This contingent of the public advocated for the planting of trees and other natural barriers in lieu of the traditional multi-foot wall. There was one written commentary that was provided to us during the meeting that does not necessarily overlap the verbal presentations that you've heard today and that are otherwise memorialized in your package, because this is all in writing in your packet. But that was a written submission by Kristen Brown. And I want to just quote a portion of that. Quote, "I am writing to express my enthusiastic support to undertake the planting of a diverse array of trees and plants at Robles Park, situated at 3305 North Avon Avenue. As the 2022 Mother of the Year for the state of Florida and the founder director of Tribe, TRIBE, Seminole Heights, a local nonprofit deeply engaged with our community, I have a vested interest in the well-being and environmental health of our neighborhood. Many students from our partner school, Broward Elementary, reside near Robles Park or in the adjacent housing development, making this initiative not only an environmental concern, but also a matter of children's health and community well-being." There's more to that, but I'll stop it there for interest of time. Brian Hunter, representing the Florida Department of Transportation District 7, was present during the meeting to share renderings of the wall, various alternatives regarding the ultimate wall presentation, and to provide an update on scheduling. As best I was able to determine from that presentation, completion of the wall is expected sometime as late as summer of 2024. The CAC ultimately passed an amended motion by a vote of 13-1 to the following effect. We recommend to the TPO board that FDOT be requested to re-engage with the Tampa Heights community regarding the structure of the barrier to be installed along the eastern boundary of Robles Park, abutting Elmore Avenue and I-275. The outreach to the neighborhood to include the Tampa Heights Civic Association and members of the Tampa Heights Community Garden. The majority of the neighborhood should inform the design of the barrier. And then, let's see, we moved on into 2 action items presented to the CAC, both of which are on your agenda today. The first action item was the tip amendments for Hart, Fixed Guideway, and Fowler Avenue resurfacing. The CAC approved those amendments unanimously by a vote of 14-0. We also reviewed the 2024 safety performance targets. The CAC recognizes the safety performance target setting as a yearly requirement and a grim reminder of how much work still needs to be done regarding reducing and eventually eliminating traffic deaths. By a vote of 12-2, the CAC approved the 2024 traffic performance targets. FDOT did present a status report to us on the Gibsonton Drive PD&E from Fern Hill Drive to US 301. CAC members commented on lane widths, lack of adequate street lighting, needed intersection changes, and how the design is intended to reduce injury crashes. There was concern that the context classification allows for speeds as low as 35 miles per hour instead of the chosen posted speed of 45 miles per hour. FDOT reported that this project is not funded or not funded at this time. A copy, much more lengthy copy of this report than what I just read to you, has been provided to the Secretary for inclusion in the record, and the report is also included in your agenda package. Respectfully submitted. I'm available for any questions.
Do we have any questions? Thank you so much, Rick. Harmony. Good morning.
Good morning, Harmony McGee, TPO staff. In regard to today's action items, both the Citizen Advisory and Technical Advisory Committees approved the Hart Fix Guideway and Fowler Avenue from 51st to River Hills Drive TIP Amendment. In addition to approving the TIP amendments, the Citizens Advisory and Technical Advisory Committees also approved the 2024 performance targets. You have heard the CAC comments from Chair Fernandez's report. TAC committee members asked about the source of the data for Signal 4 because of the difference in numbers compared to those from the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles. It was explained that the methodology used is due to FDOT's requirement to use Signal 4. The Livable Roadways and Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committees, as well as the Transportation Disadvantage Coordinating Board, will receive the 2024 safety performance targets as a status report. On social media, comments were received by Dave Coleman and Mike Lamarca regarding Vision Zero safety targets. It was expressed that although the number of fatalities has seen a decrease, there is still much advocacy to be done to ensure that those numbers continue to decrease towards the long-term goal of zero. In reference to the TPO public meetings, Dave Coleman thanked TPO staff for having virtual attendance as an option for community members. Finally, Mike Lamarca left a comment stating that the Upper Tampa Bay Trail would be a great transportation option. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Have any questions? Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to move into our consent agenda. We have a motion. So moved. We have a second. Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve our consent agenda. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Any opposers? That motion is carried. Okay, then we'll move right into our action items. Come on up, Venetia. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, TPO board. This is Vishaka Shivraman, TPO staff, here to present to you the following TIP amendments. The first one is for the Hart Fixed Guideway, and the second one is for Fowler Avenue from 51st to River Hills Drive. This project is for amending the current TIP to add $750,000 of FTA funding. This will be mainly used for rebuilding 5 of the streetcars. Rebuilds are specific for each streetcar, but the overall goal is to bring it up to standards and bring them to like new condition. By doing so, they include roof repairs, structural inspection overall, air conditioning and air compressor installation, wiring, welding, and it also adds to it that there is a standard midlife overhaul with some minor upgrades, and one of which is a vigilance system. That is, if the driver or the operator becomes incapacitated, the car shuts down, and an emergency stop button is also activated along with the system. So that's for additional safety. This slide will help you to explain the summary of changes. It is also in your packet. But in this slide, you can see that the capital funds are added in the first year of the project as part of the TIP amendment. Please note that the funding for FY 25 through 28, which is the future years, will be captured in the upcoming work program and in the next cycle of the TIP. Moving on, the second project is for the TIP amendment on Fowler Avenue from 51st to River Hills Drive. This is an existing project on Fowler Avenue. The amendment will update the project by changing the termini, which is currently from Bruce B. Downs, and make it to 51st Street. It also adds some of the additional activities included in the project are minor drainage improvements, a new signal at 52nd Street, pedestrian crossing, lighting retrofit, bringing the ADA features into conformance with the current standards, and perform safety modification work. This is mainly for extending the life of the existing pavement through milling and resurfacing. Construction is anticipated to be starting in 2024. This is a map which shows a summary of changes. As you can see in this map, the boundary has been reduced from Bruce B. Downs, which is the current termini, and moved to 51st Street. This was mainly due to construction cost increase. The areas which are in red, which are part of the remote work, will be covered under a current existing project, which is on Fowler Avenue from Florida Avenue to 56th Street. This is currently going through a survey phase and the design, and which will begin in the next 90 days. Please note that this is a slide which shows the summary of changes. The overall construction cost has been decreased by $5,000 as noticed. Some of the funding categories have been reduced, while funds have been added to some of the new funding programs through advanced construction. This slide will explain the project timeline a little bit. This is a quick project, and it's expected to be letting in May 2024. The construction will be through summer, and the road will be anticipated to be open to traffic in fall 2024. This is another slide to help you to understand our public requirement guidelines. As part of our required guidelines, we published a newsletter describing the amendments. We also published informational flyers on social media, created a web page for this project, and posted signs on Fowler Avenue where the current construction will happen and where the affected project location is. With this, I recommend, I request the board to kindly approve the TIP amendments for the two projects that have been explained above. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Any questions?
Yeah, Mayor Ross.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Could you just clarify the funding source for the additional revenue for the streetcar renovation? Where's that money coming from?
That is coming from FTA funds, and it's for mainly capital.
Okay, can you explain for the public what FTA funds are?
FTA funds are federal transit funds mainly for bus repairs and transit.
Okay, was that money earmarked by us for something else? Is it being reallocated towards this, or is this additional money that we didn't plan on?
Johnny.
Board, this is new funding. This is not a reallocation of funds from any other project in the TIP.
Okay, thank you.
Can we have a motion and a second to approve the item? All in favor of the motion? Oh.
Thank you.
We have to do a roll call? Okay. Roll call, Gail, please.
Commissioner Myers?
Yes.
Mayor Ross?
Yes.
Commissioner Owen?
Yes.
Commissioner Wastel?
Yes.
Commissioner Cohen?
Yes.
Commissioner Kemp? Yes. Councilmember Clendenin?
Yes.
Councilmember Hurtak? Yes. Councilmember Maniscalco?
Yes.
Mayor Kilton?
Yes.
Charles Klug? Yes. Gina Dew? Yes. Greg Slater?
Yes.
Justin Willits?
Yes.
Planning Commissioner Joseph?
Yes.
The motion passes 15-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Connor?
Good morning, TPO Board. Connor Trejos McDonald here to present the 2024 Safety Performance Targets.
Good morning.
So as a refresher on the performance measures, they're required by MPOs out of the MAP 21 legislation, which is moving ahead for progress in the 21st Century Act of 2012. Since then, it's been renewed through the IIJA, or the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. It requires MPOs to set performance targets related to transportation system and its safety. To quote the legislation, it creates a streamlined, performance-based, and multimodal program to address the many challenges facing the U.S. transportation system. There are 6 categories of targets, safety being one of those, and the others include pavement and bridge condition, travel time reliability, and so forth. Safety targets are done annually, so we come every February with these targets. So there's 7 targets, 5 are required, number of fatalities on a 5-year rolling average, and so forth at the top, and 2 are elected by the TPO, 1 being the number of fatalities, and the other being motorcycle fatalities on a 5-year rolling average. I will note that we set these targets with a 1% reduction rate that's based on the 2045 Long-Range Transportation Plan. It's noted as a Federal Highway Administration best practice, and we also renew that guidance, that methodology with AVDOT and HART every year. So to begin, the annual actual fatalities projected through 2024, with that 1% reduction factor, we're recommending a target of no more than 197 fatalities. On a 5-year rolling average, we have seen that increase in previous years, being the 5-year average. It includes some higher numbers in previous years. However, we are seeing a decrease, so we're recommending a target of no more than 216. Fatality rate per 100 million vehicle miles traveled on a 5-year rolling average, we are seeing a decrease there as well, recommending a target of no more than 1.49. For motorcycle fatalities, this has been more or less unable to predict. However, we did see a reduction this year and recommending a target of no more than 37.93. Annual serious injuries on a 5-year rolling average, we have seen this decrease even before these numbers on the screen, even before the years on the screen, and recommending a target of no more than 941. Serious injury rate per 100 million vehicle miles traveled, recommending a target of no more than 6.52. Annual non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. Here we have seen an increase in recent years, and even with that 1% reduction factor, we're recommending a target of no more than 240. So the report card, you can see that we met 6 of our 7 targets. The one target we did not meet would be motorcycle fatalities, as the target was set at no more than 40.21, and we did not meet the target at 40.60. In addition, you'll recognize that the non-motorized fatalities and injuries were exactly at 241. So the takeaways, the targets not met were motorcycle fatalities. In addition, non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries are seeing upward trends. So what can the TPO do? In the MPO and local government toolbox, we can design and prioritize safety projects in the CIPs, continue to program safety studies in the UPWP, and in the TIP, continue to prioritize safety projects that are lower cost and are shovel ready. In addition, we have the TPO's Speed Management Action Plan, which has several recommendations, one being to design self-enforcing roadways, another to set and communicate safe speed limits, and finally enforce safe speed limits. So the 2024 proposed performance targets are shown on the screen, and overall, the TPO, of course, is maintaining that we meet Vision Zero in the long term. However, these goals are required to be data-driven and realistic, so we're recommending the targets as shown on the screen. With that, the recommended action today is to approve the calendar year 2024 safety performance targets, and with that, I'll take any comments or questions.
Commissioner Kemp.
Thank you. So I was a little surprised because we've just been watching the numbers go up on most of this for 5 years straight. But what you're saying is this year, we're seeing on the crashes and the fatalities, for the first time in 5 years, it's dropped just a little.
I believe it did reduce a little bit last year, but we are seeing a drop below 200 this year.
And is that hhappening like across the country? Because I know as it went up, it was happening across the country. Is that a national trend that's occurring?
I'm unsure if it's a national trend, but I can definitely research more.
Okay, I think it's interesting. I was pleased to see that since we just keep seeing them going up no matter what. Now, my other is non-motorized fatalities. That is what went up. That is what we're seeing. So non-motorized fatalities, I've never heard the term quite like that before. Are we talking about pedestrian and bicyclists when we say this?
That's correct.
Okay, anybody else in that category?
No, ma'am.
I think it would be really good to say pedestrian and bicycle fatalities rather than to say non-motorized fatalities, which kind of is like, what does this mean? Are these robots that are being, you know? I mean, I think it's, you know, I think it'd be much better to use that language of pedestrian and bicycle fatalities. And so those are the one category that we are seeing continue to rise. And I find that alarming. We talk about Vision Zero, and most of those things are done for, or many of the fixes put in there are done for pedestrian and bicycle fixes, but not all of them. Not all of them are directed that way, but it looks like we even should focus on that more and be thinking about that more. And I wonder also if that is part, I know, well, already I know it's not part, actually, when I'm thinking about this, it's not part of a national trend, because in many other places, the bicycle and pedestrian fatalities are dropping. And again, Hillsborough County's one of the worst in the nation. We've come in second nationally many times for our pedestrian and bicycle deaths. I think it's good to separate them out, look at the problem, continue to acknowledge the problem, but we have just a crisis of epidemic proportions here in terms of that. And so I just think we have to just keep working very, very hard and recognize that. I'll just say that.
Yeah,
Thank you. Councilman?
I suspect we do have a nomenclature issue, because how do the motorized bicycles, e-bikes, and scooters, the bane of my urban driving, scooters, fit into those categories? So that's.
So mopeds, et cetera, will be classified under the motorcycle category.
Oh, yeah.
I don't believe we saw any fatalities in that category this year.
And scooters as well?
Yes, I believe so, but I can double check.
Interesting. Okay, very good.
Just want to add as well, in that category is work zone fatalities as well as disabled motorist fatalities if someone's on the side of the road or something like that. So, and essentially the federal categories can be a little bit confusing. Technically in the federal system, a bicyclist is considered a pedestrian not on foot.
Okay. Okay. Councilwoman Hurtag.
Thank you. Councilman Clendenin and I were sharing that we just received a TPO update of a pedestrian killed this morning. So it's just something, and we get them, I would say, every other week. It's pretty bad. And to add to what Mr. Slater said, I just did a 6-hour ride along with our solid waste management yesterday, and I rode all sorts of different vehicles. And the one thing that was throughout is every time a operator gets out of that vehicle, I mean, people just fly around them. Like no one seems to care. And I was absolutely shocked at the number of people that just simply ignored garbage trucks and the people who get on and off and in and out of them. So I think safety is just overall an issue that for our workers and people, pedestrians and bicyclists, but I was a little shocked by that yesterday. So anything we can do to really focus on safety as a city, as a county, as this board, we don't put enough money into it, so I will just advocate for that right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Ross.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Connor, I don't want to give you another project. I know you guys have a lot of them already, but as we start to think about the annual TIP meeting that we'll have, and I know this data already exists, but it would be probably beneficial for us if we could get some sort of data on the reductions that we've seen on stretches of road where we've made significant investments in Vision Zero. So for instance, I mean, a couple that come to mind are like Fowler Avenue, or not Fowler, Fletcher. You know, that whole corridor was, there was a significant investment made in redesigning that. It would be beneficial to have some before and after numbers to see, okay, we made this investment and we predicted it was going to have a 60% reduction and really only had 10, or whatever the numbers are. Another one, the biggest intersection in our city is 56th and Fowler, and DOT, to their credit, came a couple years ago and redid that, redesigned it, made it much safer, in my opinion. And I'd really like to see what the numbers are on that, and I could get them, but it'd probably be beneficial for everybody. And we don't need a 4-hour presentation in this. We just need to say, look, this is what we did on Fletcher, and this is the impact that we had. And I'm sure there's a ton of those things throughout the city of Tampa. So, you know, I don't want to get too granular, but some indicator of what works really well and how to maximize our efforts on this, and where the most dangerous corridors are. This is how much money we have, and we know if we spent these dollars that we'd likely have this impact. That, I think during the TIP meeting, that would really help us perhaps to make some more intelligent decisions or informed decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Justin.
Yeah, I was going to add to that. I think there's probably some really good data out there about Nebraska Avenue. That was a really good example of a lot of ped and bike fatalities. And I think that the project that paid for that was the actual CIT. I think it was the only CIT-funded HART project from the previous CIT. So it'd be really interesting to see those numbers, because I know there's been a lot of safety benefits, and it was a great investment of transit for transit as well. Thanks.
Okay. Any other comments before we call for a motion?
I'd just like to add, because of what Justin brought up, is that one of the highest indicators for reducing bicycle and pedestrian fatalities, which are generally caused by involved in an accident with a motorized vehicle. But one of the biggest protectors is transit corridors. Are the when you get more transit, that reduces your number of bicycle and pedestrian fatalities, and maybe it's because people are more paying attention to that, and there's more of a feel on the streets for all that. But that's one of the biggest things for reducing that.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Have a motion and a second. Roll call, Gail, please.
Commissioner Myers?
Yes.
Mayor Ross?
Yes.
Commissioner Owen?
Yes.
Commissioner Wastel?
Yes.
Commissioner Cohen?
Yes.
Commissioner Kemp?
Yes.
Councilmember Clendenin?
Yes.
Councilmember Hurtak?
Yes.
Councilmember Maniscalco?
Yes.
Mayor Kilton?
Yes.
Charles Klug?
Yes.
Gina Dew?
Yes.
Greg Slater?
Yes.
Justin Willits?
Yes.
Planning Commissioner Joseph?
Yes.
The motion passes 15-0.
Thank you, and thank you, Colin.
Thank you.
We have our status report. Wade, good morning.
Good morning, TPO Board. Wade Reynolds, TPO staff. Thank you. There it is. Yes, sir. Just a little bit down. Appreciate it. This is a brief status update on the LRTP major projects needs assessment. The sources for these major projects that we consider are come from a few different places. First, requests from local jurisdictions. Secondly, existing local priorities. That would be Table 2 in our tip list, for example. Our regional priorities from the SCTPA and TMA groups. The FDOT's SIS plans, Strategic Intermodal System, and the non-SIS projects. So we first look at the priorities outlined in the 2045 cost feasible projects, minus any that have been constructed or are committed for construction dollars. Then, of course, the 2050, this is the non-CIS cost feasible plan. And then our projects from the jurisdictions, these are largely the new projects that we are testing in the MetroQuest survey that is open right now. There are several HART projects, the Envision streetcar extension, 50th/56 arterial BRT, the CSX South Tampa multimodal corridor, the East-West BRT, which is Brandon to West Shore, and the Selman or the US 301 extension BRT. We also had a couple of interchange projects proposed. One is a new interchange south of the Manatee River, Little Manatee River, and north of the Manatee County line. Another one at US 301 and I-75, which would be for reconstruction. And another one at I-275 and US 41. We also have several widening projects in this. County Road 39, State Road 60, State Road, or US 92 rather, Lithia Pinecrest, State Road 674, I'm sorry, County Road 674, and I-275 from Hillsborough to Bears. There are also additional widening projects would be the Veterans Expressway, I-75 all the way from the Pasco County line to the Manatee County line, I-275 from the Howard Franklin Bridge to downtown, and I-4 from downtown to the Polk County line. Also a extension or a reconfiguration of US 301, potentially upper decking those lanes from the Selman extension to Big Bend Road with associated interchanges. And the Gandy Bridge from the current terminus of the Selman extension across to Pinellas County. Again, this is just a page from the tip table, which is the priorities for new funding that we will be considering. And so the next steps, we are doing the modeling of these projects in the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Model. We have already received some initial parts of that. We expect to receive this week the 2045 projects on the 2050 socioeconomic data, and then we will be doing the runs of the projects that I just went through. We will narrow down that list based on project performance and public input, and your input, of course. Determine the funding levels, which is underway right now in another needs assessment, and then determine the cost feasible projects for the 2050 map. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, and this will come back to you in April, I believe, for your approval.
Thank you, Councilwoman Hurtak.
Thank you so much for this. Looking at what was in our agenda packet, the one thing that you did not mention that I think is incredibly critical and should be moved to the, and I know we'll debate this later, but the airport to downtown transit, that's something that is on this list. As we go forward, that's going to be something that the city of Tampa is going to really want to push for this budget cycle, is really, now that we know that Brightline is coming to Ybor, we really have to start planning for what we're going to do to connect the stop in Ybor to both the airport, to USF, and to downtown, and how we make that happen. I have no problem with road widening projects within the county. That's absolutely fine, but I'm going to ask for folks to think about support for these intermodal projects within the city that are going to connect parts of our region, and that we need to think about now, so that when Brightline comes, we will be prepared.
Okay, thank you. Board Member Gina.
Thank you. Councilwoman, I cannot agree with you more. One of the challenges that we show going forward, and we've been talking to FDOT about, is that as the city grows and as we grow, the road system around us collapses. And so we can do so much on our property, but for long-term solutions, that absolutely has to be a priority. So we look forward to working with you on that. We completely agree.
Okay. Any other comments? Hearing none. Can we have a motion to receive the report?
Oh, no, just a status report, ma'am. Just a status report today.
Okay, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we should have a motion to receive the report. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposers? That motion is carried. Thank you. Now we'll hear from Executive Director, Johnny.
Good morning, board members. I just want to remind you that the TMA Leadership Group will be meeting this Friday at 10 a.m. at the airport. Again, thank you to the airport for agreeing to host that meeting. Our TMA representatives will be summarizing the conversation that we had at the TPO special meeting last week and pretty much getting a feeler for how Pinellas and Pasco will react to the priorities that we established. Second, I want to provide a legislative update on the big bill that we're tracking, SB 1032 in the House version, which is 7049. It seems that both bills have kind of stalled. The House version has not yet been placed on committee agenda. Senate version is also waiting to be placed on the agenda for its second committee stop. There's not much movement on the bills that we're currently tracking, with the exception that our legislative tracker believes that all of the transportation bills that are currently in committee may eventually get merged into one. And then lastly, I want to follow up on some previous information requests that were provided to me by the board. At last month's meeting, a couple of board members conveyed some interest in receiving a presentation from an Amtrak official to discuss plans for future service between Tampa and Miami. It looks like we may be able to schedule that presentation for our March meeting. And then secondly, regarding CSX connections, so far I haven't had much success contacting representatives from CSX. During our last meeting, I was instructed to reach out to CSX, see if I could arrange a call to discuss their participation in a freight rail study. I did have a couple calls, one with the statewide business development manager, who then referred me to the regional VP for government and community affairs, as well as a local project manager. But so far, we've been kind of playing phone tag and haven't really been able to connect to make progress toward getting a commitment for them to participate in the study. I'm going to continue trying, and I'll see if I can report back to you next month with positive results. And that's all for me.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Hearing none, then we go to old business. Commissioner Cohen, in reference to Robles Park.
Yeah, I obviously there's an interest in Tampa Heights and talking to FDOT, and we should encourage that. I don't know to what degree, after we've heard from different players and all this, the existing plans can be altered in any way, but there's certainly going to be opportunities to discuss the landscaping at the very least. So I don't know that we need a motion for that, but I think just stating it should help facilitate them communicating with one another.
Okay, any other comments? Thank you. New business, any new business? Hearing none. 11:03, adjournment. Thank you all so much.